and welcome to the Build-Up here on Balls.ie in partnership with Ladbrokes, where we get you hyped up for all the big events of the sporting weekend. Now, yesterday we spoke to Jason Quigley, who's got a big fight coming up himself, but he was obviously looking ahead to Fury and Wilder, who take fight this weekend in Las Vegas. So you can check that out on our feed or on our YouTube page. But there's another big event this weekend, and that is Stephen Kenny needing a first competitive win as Ireland manager as Ireland travel to Azerbaijan, to Baku. And Kevin Doyle, who joins us as usual, Ladbrokes ambassador. Kevin, what Stephen Kenny really needed this week was a build-up that included lots more controversy and COVID vaccination discussion, and then a couple of lads getting sick the morning before the game. It's kind of the type of thing that, like, it's actually a quiet camp the week before a game by Ireland, by Stephen Kenny standards.
Yeah, no, it's normal. I was just looking at some of the interviews yesterday and everything. It's never straightforward, is it? That's International Week, and that's something, I suppose another thing that he used to get used to as a manager, had different managers over the years with Ireland, and there's always something, in the week leading up to it. Might be about a player who's not in the squad, or something's happened at club level, whatever it might be, but there's always drama or manufactured drama, and that's something the manager just needs to deal with, and he seems to, in fairness. It's something he wouldn't have been used to, I'd imagine, that sort of intense focus. One of the maybe negatives of his appointment was he'd never been under as much pressure as he will be in this job, whereas, as we spoke about before, other managers, this would have been run of the mill for them. So, but he should be used to it at this stage, because it seems to be a year constant of him dealing with some sort of story.
Can you talk to me about the dynamics of a dressing room when something like this is there? Like, I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime issue that we have going on here with vaccination, but it's looking like at least 9 or 10 by what they're talking about Irish guys. Callum Robinson's the only one who's come out of it. He's getting hit over the head about it, which is ridiculous considering it's more England are staying quiet about what it is. We're hearing that most 13 of the 20 Premier League teams say they've got less than 50%, right? So you would imagine for the people who are getting the vaccination, it's something that is taken quite seriously, that there's a concern there about what's going on in the world. And then there's a lot of other people who aren't any less serious. I would disagree with them, obviously, strongly, but I don't know where they're coming from, to be honest. But what I mean is that they feel strongly about it in a way. Does that kind of thing could create a divide in a dressing room, or are players just not interested in that kind of real life stuff and are more interested in just having a bit of banter and going out and playing the game?
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, I'm not in that dressing room. I don't know. With Callum Robinson, just specifically on that one, he's had COVID twice. So I suppose when you're filling out them forms and doing everything like that, if you've had COVID, you're meant to be immune. So I don't know why he's getting stick for it. He's had it twice now. He couldn't be more immune to the bloody thing at this stage. A vaccine's not going to do anything for him. Whereas the others, I don't know their stories or what's the situation behind them. You don't know the personal situations. I know every year, just in talking about vaccines, we'd be offered flu vaccines at the club, and it was probably about the same 50-50. Players would have issues, not with the actual taking of the vaccine, but how they would have previous where they say, I took a flu vaccine and I didn't feel right for months afterwards regarding energy levels and my performance on the pitch. That might be psychological or not psychological, but it's a genuine issue. If you're a player and you know that, listen, I had a flu vaccine 2 years ago and I wasn't right for 6 months, or a couple of months, I didn't feel I had the same energy levels or whatever it might be. You're going to be hesitant. I don't know the situation in these players' minds. For me, I just go, to whether I thought I agreed with it or didn't agree with it, I just be, you know what, I'm taking it because I just tick a box and save the hassle of, what the big deal. I don't think there's a big deal in taking it, but I can understand if a player has had, as I said, a flu vaccine previously and didn't feel right after. Might be only psychological, but you're looking for every age and every percentage, and to feel it takes from their performance and they're fit and young and healthy and they think they've no risk from COVID. That's I'd imagine their thought process on it.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we can leave other conversations to be the rights and wrongs of it, and I don't know if there's any need for us to go into it quite now, but one thing I was thinking about is Stephen Kenny's role, and you're talking about the types of pressure that he has on and how that was always going to be a big test. One of the things we've talked about with him in the past is that Trapattoni, O'Neill, press conferences where they're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Our players are all crap. We have to do. And our players weren't crap at that time, certainly not. But that was the attitude, was always, look, I have to play a certain way because we don't have the players for it. And Kenny, one of the things that players like about him, one of the things that pundits like about him is that, he defends. He thinks that we're better than people think we are. It's not the opposite as it was in the past. he's in a very awkward situation here because he wants to kind of come out and say, look, I think we should be getting the vaccine. I've got 2 jabs. I would encourage them all to. But at the same time, I will defend Callum Robinson because he's my player. And that is a fine balancing act for a manager, because he needs to know that both Robinson and all of the other guys in that squad who are going to come under more and more pressure as time goes on, that he has their back, while also openly disagreeing with them. It's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, again, that's manager job. There's so many things you have to get a fine balancing act as a manager. In everything, performances afterwards, and how you criticize or don't criticize, and when you give them a nudge and when you don't. And this is the same sort of thing. All you can do is guide them. Listen, lads, I think it's a good idea, but at the end of the day, it's their choice, their bodies, their whatever, and you decide what you put in it. I can only guide and I can only advise, and I'm sure the doctor, the international team, the doctor, the clubs teams, I would imagine is, advise them that it's probably ideal that they would get one, but at the end of the day, it's not against the law not to. It's only a recommendation and it's their choice. And you have to look at it from their point of view as well. Listen, we're not. It's all right for us. We don't have to go out and run around for 90 minutes next week or the week after. And if they have a feeling that in the past they've had a vaccine and they have been that edge taken off their performance, and it definitely had this conversation with players over the flu vaccine. I'm not getting the flu vaccine. I don't feel well after. I didn't play well for months after. So players are like that, and could be just psychological. But you're trying to get every little edge, and if that's how they feel, and it's not the law, and there's only advice, well then that's there's no point in having a lynch mob and going after these lads. It's it's the whole society. It's not just footballers. I saw a headline today, something about no wonder people think footballers are stupid. Well, listen, that's a very generalistic thing to come out with. Players are making these decisions. We don't know what the reason is behind it, so we can't just come out with a big overall statement like that. And it's there is a small percentage population for other reasons don't want to take the vaccine, but I'd imagine in the sporting sense, it's nothing to do with the vaccine. It's to do with their performance on the pitch, and that's why they're feeling they don't want to take that 1 or 2%. Might, as I said, just be purely psychological, but they're looking for every edge.
Yeah. Look, they're going to miss games because of it, and I wish that was seen as just as important. But look, and I agree with you on not lynching people. I think some of the there was a lot worse going on in the country on Tuesday and Wednesday than Callum Robinson admitting something that we kind of knew anyway when he missed the last game. And it definitely was a bit of a lynch mob mentality.
But then, on the other side of it, Shane Long, I know, has the vaccine and he missed the last game. So it doesn't automatically mean you're going to pass a COVID test. It's just, it's you're just trying to do the best thing and try to hope for to tick as many boxes you can, and everything. And it's one we can't discuss how another person decides for whatever reason. We don't know the reason behind it. So it's a really hard one to accuse or have a go at any player. Or person, but the majority seem to I don't know the exact number of the Jordan squad. Was it? Did it come out? How many?
No, it's not. Kenny's kind of saying it's around sort of 9 or 10 without putting a number on it. That was a number put to him by somebody else, and he kind of broadly agreed with it. So we don't know the actual number now. Look, I think that's it's fairly well put, and there's always a balance to these things, and there's always a bit of a middle ground. On Robinson himself, actually, I was thinking his performances off the bench in the last couple of games would suggest to me that he has a big part to play tomorrow night. It'll be interesting to see what kind of team Kenny goes with. There's reports this morning that Adam Ida and Jason Knight, unfortunately, who's back in the squad, obviously, are currently locked in their room in Baku with high temperatures and sick, but have tested negative so far, at least to COVID. But look, there's other illnesses out there, and they're not training, and they'd be obviously two big losses as well. But there's so many selection issues, and we can get into them and stuff, but we need a win, don't we? We talk about this all the time, but this is away from home. This would be one that would be seen as a good win, regardless of what sort of form we're in. And we just need to go into, have that next run of games. We're playing a friendly, obviously. Then there's a run of club games again before the next international break, and we just need a little bit of positivity, don't we, for before the bigger camp that's to come.
And we're thinking this is the way to Azerbaijan. At our best over the years, this is not an easy game. Everyone thinks, it's Azerbaijan. You expect to beat them at home. Away from home is a totally different story. It's not easy. So talk about a win. I'd go back to basics. You know what? We haven't had a clean sheet. I don't know. We don't seem to believe in clean sheets anymore. It doesn't seem to be an issue as long as we're playing lovely football. That's all that matters. I'd go back to basics in this one. We can still play decent football, but lads, we need a clean sheet. I'll be hammered at home in interviews. I'll be hammered at home. We need to, our strongest point historically been defensively solid. We need a clean sheet. Go away from home and then hope we're not pulling up trees and scoring goals. It's been an issue, not just now, but over a number of years. So go away from home and get a clean sheet, and then hope to nick a goal and win a game. We're all about when do you draw the line between criticizing the manager but also believing in what he's doing. We've had this conversation before, and I feel there's a case for both there. I like what he's doing. I like how we're trying to play, but I'd also love him to just nail down a few simple issues, going away and getting a clean sheet away from home. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a nice, solid defensive performance. It doesn't always have to be fabulous football. We don't always have to be playing it out from the back for 90 minutes. You try to build on that. You try to build results, build confidence. Go out there, try keep a clean sheet and try get a goal and try play at times. Try play the right football. And we will. We have the players, all those players, talk about changing the style of football and how Ireland play over the years. All these players are young players who've been brought up through their clubs playing decent football. So it comes natural to them. You don't have to, it's not going out there and trying to reinvent the wheel for them. They've all been brought up playing out from the back, playing good football. That would come naturally. But just getting a decent shape about him, real solidness, going away, building confidence in a group so he doesn't have to be building confidence in a manager. So he doesn't have to be answering these questions all the time. That every press conference isn't a disaster for him. That he can go out and say, listen, we got something away from Azerbaijan. Start, even if it's a draw, if it's 0-0, we got something away from home. But just, I'd love to see a good, solid defensive performance and still play some good football from the back. But not be so wide open, especially away from home, that we can build on something from this and get some confidence in that group of players, because they can't keep going on. It's a young group of players. They can't keep going and going and going, saying we're building something and training's great and yet we're doing it. They have to, naturally in life, you need some confidence. Players, teams are the exact same. They can't go on. It's a year now where they're getting mullered from everyone. I'd love to see them, just come out and get something here and just start building, little building blocks, not looking for a fabulous 3-4-0 away from home win tomorrow. Just the building blocks and go from there and start somewhere. Start now.
Yeah, so our best performances under Kenny have probably been the Slovakia playoff, which ultimately led the playoffs, the Portugal game. In some ways, the two Serbia games, obviously the goals went in pretty quickly in the but we obviously went 1-0 up and stuff in the away game. But played well, I think, in all the games against the bigger teams, but have really struggled against what would you describe as teams below our level or at our level, right? So wherever Azerbaijan are, it's hard to say at the moment. I remember there was criticism in between the 3-5-2 seemed to be the way we were going with things in the last window, and great for Portugal and Serbia, but probably not inventive enough for home to Azerbaijan. But the way you're talking, I'm wondering, are you thinking, do you know what, we actually need solidity more than we need flair? And maybe we stick to that system that has that little bit more solidity.
Yeah, we're missing a few. Like Seamus Coleman has gone as well. I'm just interested in what players he plays in there. I would go for solidity away from home. I would go with the 3 at the back. Like, you're trying to build and players get used to something. If you keep switching and chopping and changing, you want to get players used to being beside each other, especially at the back. Talk about clean sheets. Like we played well against Serbia away, but we conceded 3 goals. We played well against Portugal away, but we conceded 2 goals. We conceded away to Andorra. Yeah. We conceded against Luxembourg. Like, it's not just the good team scoring against us. So you just want a bit of consistency maybe in teams, especially in that back 5. It's difficult with injuries, and the 2 in the middle that are supporting them and sitting in there. That was one that I think in the last game against Azerbaijan where we changed it from such a good performance away to Portugal and players playing really well in the positions. We went and we had a chance to play the same, very similar team, and we didn't. We made a few changes, and I know there was reasons I'm sure he had for that, but I thought it was a chance for us, after all the changes over COVID, to stick with a similar starting 11 for players to be confident with players beside them, to know, sort of start to get that, not have to think about what someone's doing, what Shea Duffy's doing, what Seamus Coleman's doing, what Matt O'Doherty's doing. They're there, beside you. So I'd like us to stick with something. I'm not too fussed on whether we play 3 at the back or 4 at the back, but just have a bit of consistency. There's so many changes and so much going on that to try to get a clean sheet, especially, I would stick with 3 at the back. But if you go to 4 back, it's fine. They've all been brought up playing it, they know it. But just, it's for me, just to get a sort of consistent sort of lineup, shape, style. And I thought Shane Duffy was very good. It's nice to see him back in there. I think he's probably better in a 4-at-the-back, in fairness, if you're going to play at 4-at-the-back. So that's not the end of the world for me regarding the formation. I'm not too. You can be solid with a 4-at-the-back. That's not, you don't have to be playing 3-5-2 to be solid, or 3-5-1-1 or whatever. So, no, I'm not too hung up about it. Just try to get a consistent team out there. We seem to make so many changes. I know a few are enforced, but they weren't enforced the last day, and we made the changes. So, we don't know who's going to be fit now. We don't know what the story is for tomorrow night regarding that. So we'll be taking out his hands again. But when I say solid as well, I don't mean like that. Doesn't mean Gavin Bazuna and everyone sits back and he just pumps it long for me. So I mean solid as we're not so open. We're tough to play against. You look at those games and there was nothing said about all those goals conceded, and everyone was great and everyone was brilliant. Well, sometimes you just say, you know what, we played really well, but we shouldn't be conceding 2 goals to Portugal. We shouldn't be conceding 3 goals. We didn't play that well against Serbia. I remember the manager saying how brilliant the performance was. Well, it wasn't if we conceded 3 goals. I know he has to support the players, and I love the way he always talks up the players. We spoke about that. He always talks them up. But there's times you have to say, you know what, great performance, but conceding 3 goals isn't a great performance, is it? It's not a great defensive performance. So, and we have good defenders. One thing we definitely have, good goalkeeper, good defenders, experienced players as well. We have young players all over the pitch, but not in defence. So just put a bit more pressure on the team and on those defenders to keep a clean sheet. Some soft goals have gone in. Get back to, training's great and all that, lads, but we need to work on set pieces. We're passing a brilliant training, but any chance of us not conceding from a set piece or closing players in when they're going to shoot? Just the very basics of football, which I spoke with you before. We seem to have gone past them to working so much on our style of play that's been forgotten about. And they are the real basics that get you results away from home against Azerbaijan. That's the stuff they're going to have to be good at.
Yeah. You mentioned the constant changing and most of it not being Stephen's fault, and obviously like Coleman out this time. We've 1 or 2 more missing as well. Malumbi suspended, but there isn't as much. We'll see what happens with Knight and Ida, obviously. But if they were to be there, it does feel like at last that there's a sense of a lot of these guys. It's the sheer number of matches more than anything else. If the look hasn't got any better, they've started to kind of develop some partnerships. Bazunu's had a run now. Egan has had a run. He wasn't playing for a good bit. He missed a few games during the early stages. Duffy is back in the team. Doherty's played almost every game. Josh Cullen has really established himself in midfield. So on and so forth, all the way. Ida, obviously, if he plays. I got the sense anyway in the Serbia game that these guys are a lot more in tune with each other than they had been. Now you can't take too much from a good performance, but that does matter as a player. Just you become better the more you play with same or similar guys over the course of, however, like, you're talking 10 games, but it's over the course of well over a year. Yeah,
and some of those players like Adam, Ida, like he was really good coming in the last couple of games. Very good at holding the ball up. But he's probably played more games for his country now than he has done for his club. Do it's really tough ask for him, and this is why I feel for Stephen Kenny and why I think he should be left. I think he should be left to get on with it. And I still criticise him for different things, but the inexperience of the players he's had to deal with, he hasn't had the same squad of players other managers have had. So you have to give him a break for that and let him get on with it. Adam, all those players you list out there, most of them not playing at club level, are getting a lot of experience from international football. And I know for myself, it took me 10 games to feel comfortable at international football, to even start to feel comfortable. So it's a really tough ask what he's had to do. I know some of it was self-inflicted. He got rid of a few experienced players very quickly and brought in the younger players. You hope that starts to pay off for him now. They did start to look a lot more comfortable. Ida in particular, to me, looked to be, to begin with, I thought he didn't offer a whole lot in those games. And in the last few games he's played, he's held it up really well. He's looked stronger. He's looked fitter. He's looked a lot more confident player. He just needs a goal now to sort of put the icing on the cake in his performances for Ireland. Maybe staying around the box a little bit more. He ends up, that's a tough role. He's sort of up front in his own a lot of the time. It's a tough role. You do end up out wide. You do end up holding up and bringing other people into the play and then not being in the box then because of that to try score yourself. But just be a little bit more selfish at times. But they have all those players. The facts have come on. They've all started with no caps, and all of a sudden, in a year, they've had a year of gaining their experience on the flow with no experienced players around them. It's been really difficult. They've had to learn on the job and not really come into it with a big club career behind them. So, all those are the reasons why Stephen has been given time and people are giving him the benefit of the doubt, and the same with me, because he has had to deal with a squad that isn't the same depth, same quality. But they are getting to a stage now where they all have 10, 12 caps. They all have experience. They're starting to get games at club level, especially our back 4 or 5, whatever it might be. They're an experienced back 4 or 5. Bazuna in goal really looks the real deal. Kevin Kelleher as well. I would say, Bazuna's brilliant the last day, great saves. I would say Kevin Kelleher is even a better goalkeeper from what I've seen. So we've a great problem there going forward. So there's positives in it, but and those young players now have the caps, Mick. So it's starting to get to a stage now. Listen, they have the experience. You've played them now, and now we start to hope to see bear some fruit.
Hopefully. So a clean sheet and a goal from clean sheet's your biggest desire. Mine is a goal from someone that isn't the centre half. And combine those two, and we've got our first competitive win under Stephen Kenny.
We're not asking for that, are we? No, we're not. But I'm the centre forward, and I'm asking for a clean sheet. That's pretty boring for me. But it's just, you need to start somewhere. Positive performance with a clean sheet and a goal. Yeah, you're right. A goal from one of our forward players. I'd love it to be the centre forward, get a goal or two. But it's not going to be easy. Going to Azerbaijan is not easy. And big game for them too. So tough for him. I hope these players aren't, ruled out now as well, and that he gets, we can without losing another few players. So again, never a dull moment in the Ireland squad.
Absolutely not. It's not part of Ladbrokes 1-2-3, which I'm going to bring you quickly through in a second. But if you were to pick a score in Ireland Azerbaijan,
we'll go with what we just said: 1-0 away win.
1-0 away win with a goal from Ida. We'll say we'll give him the goal, or Troy Parrott. There we go. Ladbrokes 1-2-3 though, Kevin, is on this week. This is where people can play for free on the Ladbrokes app or on Ladbrokes.com. Right now, they just pop on, they pick the score and the 3 games that are provided. If you, it's absolutely free to play. If you pick one correctly, you get a €1 free bet. If you pick 2 correctly, you get a €5 free bet. And if you get all 3, you win €100 cash. Kevin is going to quickly tell us the score in Saturday, 5 o'clock. First of all, Scotland at home to Israel. These international ones are really easy to do, Kevin, aren't they?
Yeah, and this is the first time I'm seeing these, so you're catching me on that. Scotland at home to Israel. Give the Scots a home win, 2-1.
2-1, I love it. Okay. Andorra, as you said, scored against Ireland. They won their home to England. Nice, easy game for them.
England will probably make a load of changes, won't they? I'll go for a 4-0 away win.
4-0, there you go. And finally, our neighbours, Northern Ireland, travel to Switzerland. This is a bloody tough game for them. Lots of positivities, but not quite the results so far for them. But this is surely a Switzerland win you would expect.
Yeah, always. Switzerland are just good, aren't they? No matter what team, what players they have, you might know nothing about them, but you just know they're going to be a very good, solid international team. I'm going to go. Yeah, sorry, Northern Ireland. We're going to have to go for a Switzerland 2-0 win.
There you go. Ladbrokes 1-2-3. You can play yourself now. Kevin's gone for Scotland to beat Israel 2-1. Andorra to lose 4-0 at home to England, and Switzerland to beat Northern Ireland 2-0. You can play for free on Ladbrokes.com now. Just pick the scores in the 3 games. If you get 1 right, you get a €1 free bet. If you get 2, you get a €5 free bet. And if you get all 3, you win €100 cash. And Kevin, to be honest, the international ones are way harder than the Premier League ones, but we never win the Premier League ones anyway. So just throwing in an old score in there is worth doing anyway.
Wasn't too bad last weekend. It was close enough. Didn't get.
You're very close on Liverpool City. Yeah.
Well, it's a tough one. You can get the results. It's just getting the goals the problem. But sure, that's why it's a free bet.
Exactly. Enjoy the Ireland game if that's what you do. You're going up to Dundalk tonight as well.
Dundalk v Rovers tonight. Yeah,
that'll be a good game.
Should be a good game. Yeah, Dundalk showed a little bit of form after a tough season so far, but they've just dragged themselves out of the relegation sort of playoff place, I think, and Rovers are cruising, in fairness, to another league title without playing brilliantly. So I'm doing that game tonight, and I'll be sitting watching at home the Ireland game tomorrow night.
Yeah, so. as Ireland break the Stephen Kenny competitive win duck and beat Azerbaijan away, which is not as easy as we're making out at all, as Kevin has pointed out at pains many times. So I'll take the heat for that one if Ireland don't get the win, Kevin. But thanks a million for joining us, and we'll chat to you next week.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks a million to Kevin, as always. We'll be back with more build-up. Of course, next week we'll talk to Kevin. We've Stephen Ferris on the rugby and lots more as well. If you're having a bet on football or anything else, of course, over the course of the weekend, please gamble responsibly. Visit dunlewy.net for more information, and we'll be back with you very soon.